Hi! On this week's How Do I Make That, I am making stevia extract. So many people ask me how to make stevia extract or where do I get a good high quality stevia extract. Well, stevia doesn't spike blood sugar. If you use real natural stevia herb, the leaves or the powder, these are the leaves that have just been kind of squished. That is a natural leaf, right? It's high in vitamins and minerals. I can grow it outside in my garden. It tastes really sweet. If you buy stevia in the stores, usually it is white or powdery. A powdery white, not a brown or a green, and that tells us it's very highly processed. That form is inflammatory. We want this natural form. And I'm going to make an extract just like you would buy an echinacea extract. Most of you are familiar with other extracts used for medicinal reasons. Well, we're going to make one that is used for culinary use. You can also add it to your herbal teas and things like that. So usually when we make an herbal extract, we think about the qualities of the herb to decide what we want to use to extract the chemicals. Usually water is best. And so making a tea is going to give you a higher quality as far as medicinal quality than any of these other things. But a tea will only last about 24 hours. And so you could make a stevia tea and use that to sweeten things, but it's only going to last you a day. If we use alcohol, that usually extracts, that's usually second best in most cases. So water is best, alcohol is second best, and then glycerin would be third, or glycerin would be third, and then vinegars and wines and brandies are used later. They're not quite as high quality, and they're not uniform. And so if you buy a brandy here or a vinegar there, they're not going to be the same as a vinegar or brandy somewhere else. They're not as shelf stable. So the best for shelf stability is alcohol. Second best would be glycerin. Glycerin will last maybe a year. What I like to use, so remember I said tea, water extracts the most. Alcohol would be second, and then glycerin is third. I like to combine a little bit of alcohol. It helps with my stability, make it more shelf stable. It also extracts a little bit more. And then glycerin, because usually when we use stevia, we don't want to taste the alcohol. Now when you do sweeten something, like here is my stevia. If I'm going to sweeten something like for myself, I might use, my jar is empty. I might use a dropper full. That's not a lot of alcohol. Even if it was 100% alcohol that I used to extract it, which I didn't, you can see it doesn't even coat the bottom of my cup here. And so it's not a lot of alcohol, but a lot of people are worried about that, especially if they are using alcohol with someone who has an addiction to alcohol. So then you would only want to use glycerin. Or you would make it, gently warm it to burn off any of the alcohol. So you're left with only the glycerin. Just remember, it's only going to be shelf stable for up to a year. Okay, so how do we make this? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to combine my alcohol and my glycerin. Now, if I were using a grain alcohol is 100% alcohol, no water. I would add a little bit of water to it. But I'm using an 80 proof? An 80 proof, which means that it does already have some water in there. And so that water, remember, is best to extract from the herb. So that water is going to extract from the herb. I have alcohol, which is going to extract more, make it much shelf stable. And then there's water in the glycerin as well. And so don't want to add any more water because water is not shelf stable, right? So I'm going to fill I have a pint jar, half with alcohol and half with the glycerin. Once again, if I was using a grain alcohol, I would add a little bit of water, but I would calculate that. So it just depends on how much you have. I can't figure out how to open this. Okay, there we go. So I'm not going to be exact. You can be exact if you want to, but I'm going to do about half 80 proof vodka. And this is a potato vodka. And then I'm going to do half of this kosher food grade vegetable glycerin. It says kosher, it says food grade, it says non-GMO. So I have half glycerin and half alcohol. All right, so I forgot a spoon. Let me grab a spoon, and I think I have all the rest of my materials. You can see the glycerin just kind of sits there right in the middle. Let me grab a spoon. And a jar. Okay, and so the glycerin is a lot like a syrup, and it tastes really sweet, but it also doesn't spike blood sugar. It doesn't have any calories. It's just going to help extract some of the herb, and it's going to help it be a little bit more shelf stable. Now I'm going to fill my other pint jar about half full with these stevia leaves. And so you can see it's green-brown, as it should be if I dried the herbs, right? Pick the green leaves from my yard, and I dry them in my dehydrator. I should get kind of a greenish brown leaf. Okay, so now I'm going to stir this. Doesn't really want to combine well. This is my alcohol and my glycerin. And I'm going to pour it over my herbs. And then I'm going to put some parchment paper on top and cap it. This is a nice clean jar, of course. Before we walk away, we want to make sure that we put a label on it because they all start to look alike. So this is something that I made not too long ago. These look very different, yellow and green. This one is ashwagandha, actually. But if I were doing mint or stinging nettle or something else, they're all going to start to look the same. So I'm going to put stevia, and I'm going to put today's date on here. Put that on my jar. And then I'm going to give this a good shake. Now, some people like to put it in a blender because when you break it down, it just helps to absorb more. If I were making this for medicinal reasons, I probably would. But this I would just want to use as a sweetener, and so I'm not going to. And it makes it much more difficult to strain later on. When you do have it closer like a powder, it's really difficult to strain. It takes forever. Glycerins take a long time to strain too because that thick syrupy gel. Anyway, so I shook it up, and I'm going to open it back up because as the leaves absorb that liquid, I may need to add, yeah, look. See, my water level, my liquid level dropped, and so I want to bring it back up to about halfway up that ring. Okay, cap it again and give it a nice shake. And I'll peek at it again later tonight, and if it looks like the level has dropped again, then I will add a little bit more. You can see I have a little bit more left in there, and remember, it was only half and half about, and so it's easy just to make up some more. Okay, so here is my stevia with the leaves. Now I could put that in a smoothie or something and I wouldn't even notice. But I might as well just put the leaves in my smoothie, right? But if I'm making a tea or something where I want a nice clean liquid, what I'm going to do, this is going to sit for 2 weeks here on my counter so that when I walk by, I pick it up, I give it a good shake, and I walk on by. If I'm doing something medicinal, it's going to sit here 4 to 6 weeks. If I'm making something like stevia, only 2 weeks. Some people don't even go that long because stevia can have a bit of an aftertaste or some bitterness. So if you can do at least 5 days, that's going to help with the bitterness. I do 2 weeks. And so at the end of 2 weeks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a funnel in my measuring glass, put a strainer down, and then put a piece of muslin or cheesecloth in the strainer. And I will take the lid off and dump it out. And just let it sit. It's going to take a long time, like I said, because of the glycerin. Glycerin is thick and syrupy. It's going to take a while. And then once it gets near the end, I'm going to bundle up the edges and squeeze the rest out and pour it into these dark glass jars. The dark jars help it last a little bit longer. And so I'll pour it into, fill up this one. And then I like to have a dropper So you can see this is one that I already made. I'm already low on this one. But you can see it's a greenish brown color. It's not clear. So I don't know how they get the nice clear stevia extracts that we buy. I don't think that those are really clean, right? But I keep them in this jar. It's going to last me for a year. And now I even have some on backup. Once again, I'm going to check it later tonight and see where that level is for the stevia. Anyway, I hope that you make your own stevia extract. I like monk fruit too. I don't make a monk fruit extract, though I could, using the same method, as long as I'm using the real monk fruit, right? Anyway, if you like this recipe, let me know. Please like it, subscribe to my channel, share with your friends, and comment. I love to hear from you. I love to hear anything that you have to say. You like the video, you don't like the video, and let me know what else you would like to learn. What would you like for me to make next? Anyway, enjoy!